So if you just want to press your button. Okay, everybody, it's 5 o'clock. We're right with streaming. We're good with streaming. Thank you very much. And warm welcome to everybody in attendance and those watching at home tonight. I now declare the first committee meeting at our new Gosford Library open at 5:01 p.m. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, work and play. We pay our respects to Jarkandjung country and elders past and present. We recognise the continued connection to those lands and waterways and extend this acknowledgement to homelands and stories of those who have also called this place home. We recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for and protect our place and our people. I remind councillors and all those present that your image and what you say may be broadcast live to the public, so please be mindful of your actions and your comments. You should avoid making statements that might defame or offend, and note that a recording of this meeting will be retained online and in Council's archives. Please turn your mobile phones off or switch them to silent. Filming and photography are not permitted in the meeting. Anyone observed to be filming the meeting may be asked to leave. Our apologies, we have one apology, and that's from Mayor McKenna. He's away overseas, personal reasons, and we have Councillor Wright who is attending as the alternate. Any other apologies? Nothing noted. We do have a request received from Councillor McQuaid to attend the meeting by audio-visual link in accordance with clause 6.21 of the Code of Meeting Practice. So I have a procedural motion here, or a comment that the committee approves the request by Councillor McQuaid to attend the Economic Development Committee meeting on Tuesday the 4th of November 2025 at 5 p.m. by audio-visual link because he is unable to attend in person due to personal reasons. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second.
Seconder, Councillor Wright. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. I won't skip through too fast. Staff, everything okay? Okay. Disclosures of interest. I now ask committee members to disclose any conflicts of interest they may have in items on tonight's agenda. Firstly, myself, I confirm that I have no conflicts. Councillor Smith. Councillor McQuaid.
No conflicts.
Deputy Mayor Muland.
No conflicts, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Wright.
Nothing to declare, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all. Now, confirmation of the minutes. I now call for removal for the recommendation of the motion.
Happy to.
Councillor Deputy Mayor
I'll second
Muland. And seconded by Councillor Wright. Any comments? Any discussion? I now put the motion. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. All good? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Now move to resolutions by exception. I'll call out the names of the items. Please advise if you wish to star an item to be discussed tonight. Items that are not starred to be discussed will be resolved en masse, meaning the committee is resolving the recommendations contained in the report. Items 2.1, Draft Economic Development Strategy, Destination Management Plan, and Event Strategy for Public Exhibition. Starred by Councillor Smith. Yep. Sorry, is yours on?
Well, it looks like it's on, but you can't hear me.
The IT people will have a look at that now. 2.2, place brand strategy, starred by Deputy Mayor. 3.1, quarterly regional economic indicators, starred by Deputy Mayor. And progressing the Warnervale Business Precinct, starred by Councillor Wright. Now, I'll just move back a couple and go to disclosures of interest. Councillor McGregor, please confirm any items that you have any conflict in. No known conflicts. Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to item 2.1. The draft economic development strategy, destination management plan, event strategy for public exhibition. And I might start by saying great documents, all of them. Thank you very much, staff. I did print them out so I could actually read them, and it is a little bit of reading for everybody, but very important documents we need for the next couple of years. I invite Melanie Smith, Director of Community and Recreation Services, to speak to the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me through the microphone? Great, thank you. The suite of documents that you have before you tonight have been painstakingly put together by staff who've done an absolutely fantastic job. They form an integrated suite of documents, and I will hand over to Sue Lettingham, who's going to do a very brief presentation for you. The purpose of them coming before the committee tonight is for them to be recommended to council to go on public exhibition as of the end of January. Thank you. Over to Sue.
Could I just call up the presentation?
You just need someone to stand behind you.
Can you hear me? So, it's not me. Yeah, item 2.1.
For those at home, we're just waiting for the presentation to progress, which it looks like it has.
Can you just go to the next slide? Thank you very much. We're really pleased to bring these three strategic documents through to the Economic Development Committee today. The Economic Development Strategy, which is dated for 2026 through to 2030, the Destination Management Plan, which is 2026 through to 2029, and the Event Strategy from 2026 through to 2030. These documents directly support the objectives of the Community Strategic Plan, and by contributing to a strong local economy and a vibrant and sustainable community. Next slide, please. The Economic Development Strategy actually leads the Destination Management Plan and the Event Strategy to inform a cohesive suite of documents. They've been designed to work in tandem with each other, ensuring that Council and the Central Coast community are able to build a resilient and attractive investment option for the Central Coast, but also to help build and create a strong and vibrant community and manage growth and opportunities. Over the past 6 months, we've done quite a bit of engagement in the development of these strategies. The journey for that has been lengthy conversations, but also planning and working with people that are likely to help us deliver through a partnership approach. So we've spoken to local businesses, third-party event operators, we've spoken to local industry bodies, business chambers, students, local workers, key state and federal government agencies that work in economic development for the region, local Indigenous and First Nation organisations, our internal teams who also support economic development opportunities, and of course with our councillors. Next slide, please. Oh, I've got it. Didn't see it. Nope. One of the things we wanted to be really clear about, I'm sorry, bear with me, bad driving. There we go. One of the things that was really important for us when we were building the strategies was to take a more modern economic development approach to how we holistically look at all the foundational elements of a location, alongside growing of industry, local jobs and economic output. We felt that it needed to balance both the economic prosperity along with social well-being, cultural vitality and environmental sustainability. It's about incorporating three things, and we felt that when we did this, we wanted to be really clear about what are those three things that are actually important from an economic development perspective. People who are the heart of the economy, and this is about by developing up our local talent, skills and opportunities for meaningful employment locally here on the Central Coast. Place, which is about setting up the stage for growth and by creating vibrant, connected and attractive communities that foster identity and pride. And for us, the strong point about economic development is we can't do it on our own, we need to do it in partnership. And the idea of having a collective strength as a region by working with industry, education providers, government and community to drive that long-term prosperity. I'm not very good at driving this machine. Each of the strategic documents has a vision. These are the three visions for the individual documents, but they're meant to work in tandem, and that's the key point for us. It's about how do we balance that tandem deliverables within each of these strategies. So they've got key strategic themes for each one, and all of them have supporting action plans that will be implemented through our delivery program and operational plans, but also through our partnerships with our external organisations that are either at state or federal level, or they're those smaller groups that work and represent industry or community groups. We found that one of the things when we were developing the strategies was important that the voices of all of those were part of these documents. Next one. So the draft documents are put forward to the committee for endorsement to go to public exhibition at the ordinary council meeting. I think that date's now moved to the 18th, is that correct? 18th of November, apologies for that, what's on the slide. Public exhibition would commence from the end of January to the end of February, and at that time we would bring back the feedback and implement those changes where we can possibly do that, or work and have conversations with those partners about how we might deliver that. Consultation will consist of, we would like to do some webinars that works for business because during the day it's not very easy for them to attend. We'd like to do some further surveys, some drop-in sessions, direct workshops with some of our partners, as well as we'll directly communicate out through EDMs to businesses, key stakeholders and residents. We'll do media release and social media channels. We'll use those avenues to share and spread the information, the word about the information contained within the documents to try and generate interest for people to come and have their say. And we'll have a Your Voice Our Place page on the web, which will include all of the documents and information about how we got to these points in terms of their development. There's quite a bit of back detail that sits to support these documents. That's through the research that we undertook and also the voices of all the people that participated in the engagement. We thank the committee for their strategic direction through the development of these documents.
Thank you, Sue. Questions? Councillor Smith.
No? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Look, I'd say that I'd like to just make the comment that I am really impressed, particularly with the two documents related to events and tourism. I also am pleased with the economic development strategy. However, I have spoken to the director, and I would just like to request that some of the wording be amended to better align with the other two documents as well. I think both the destination management and event strategy really highlight the value that our community and our council puts on the natural qualities of the Central Coast, and I would just like that to come through a little bit more in the economic development strategy. I don't think it changes anything in the strategy other than the wording. So if I could just request a bit of an addition to the recommendation, and I think the staff have some wording. Is that correct? Yep. And where is it? I'll just read it out for the committee, that the draft economic development strategy be amended to align with the destination management plan and event strategy values to include the environment. So, like I said, I don't think it changes any specific things. It just brings that concept a bit more strongly into the economic development strategy. And then could I just ask a question? Now, I don't think it needs to be in the motion or the recommendation. Yes, with that addition.
I'm happy to second, Mr.
Yep. Just a request. I know it did get through as a resolution of council a long time ago, but can we get a text-only version of these documents at the beginning of the exhibition period? Okay, great. Thank you, Tara. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, happy to support the amendment. I'd just like to thank the staff formally. Big piece of work over the last few months. I know what we asked the staff to do was challenging. Really pleased to see the economic development strategy, the destination management plan, the event strategy come together. There's been feedback for many years that from outside the organisation, the approach by council has been disjointed and not cohesive in its approach. The other feedback that we've had, and I'm on the record saying this previously, I don't think our community really bought into our economic development strategy previously. They thought there was a lot of motherhood statements and there was a lot of projects in there that we were never going to achieve. Congratulations to staff. After reading the document, I didn't print it out. Must admit it was bedtime reading in print version. But as I read through that and I looked at it from outside the organisation, there was real value in there. So congratulations to all involved.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I suppose I'm interested to hear the thoughts of the staff.
Speak into the mic.
Sorry, obviously it's quite a lengthy suite of documents. I suppose, what's your sort of overarching message, particularly to young people, about what this strategy and the associated documents means for them? What should they be excited about here on the Central Coast?
Can I just clarify, if in regards to young people?
Yeah.
That's what you're asking. So the intent of all three documents is to provide an environment that grows the economy in a way that provides, many years to come of employment opportunities, educational opportunities, so on and so forth on the Central Coast that currently may not exist right now. In regards to the destination marketing plan, that document is designed to be an attractor to the Central Coast, to promote tourism, a whole raft of other things that sit behind that. And the event strategy equally is to provide an environment that encourages major event producers to look to the Central Coast as being a destination of choice to host high-level, state, national, international events on the Central Coast. So it's about bringing the focus back to the Central Coast rather than the current environment where we know statistically that a large percentage of the population leave the coast to gain employment, and educational opportunities. It's about refocusing back on the Central Coast.
So while I was listening to that, I just wanted to pull up the event strategy at the same time. I suppose, are there any, we obviously have a lot of assets here on the Central Coast that facilitate events, notably Central Coast Stadium, which is obviously quite an expensive asset for us to hold. Are there any particular events that you believe this will facilitate that we can look to go after? And I say that not in a negative way, but in a positive way, because I notice, even last ordinary council meeting, we looked at what we could do with the rugby and things like that. Are there any things in particular that you're looking at and you have identified through this strategy that could be good for us to look at moving forward?
Talk about sculptures.
Through the chair, there are a number of types or classifications of events that we are looking at the moment. So we've started conversations with Sculptures by the Sea. We are looking at growing some of the festivals. So, for example, if you look at the Harvest Festival, looking at what are the opportunities to grow that in the down season, so in the winter months, when we know that tourism isn't at its peak. The other area that we are looking to attract more of are high-level national and international sporting type events.
Thank you. Final question. We've spoken about this before, I believe, in terms of how, as a council, we can make it easier for groups who hold events, say, every year. And we've spoken about sort of more pattern book designs. What does that look like moving forward? Because I think feedback we've gotten previously from events like festivals, particularly in outdoor spaces, in the entrance and in the peninsula area, some of these groups are feeling a bit uncertain about, and worrisome about going through that process again each year. Is there something that we can look to through this strategy to say, look, what we're really trying to do is make it easy for you guys. You've got a good event. It's easy to put on. People love it. Things like Chrome Fest, things like the festival, the Funhouse Factory runs, etc.
So through the chair again, one of the early actions in the event strategy is to develop a package of documents for those sort of high-level events that we know are year on the Central Coast. One step back from that too, so the new suite of grants programs that are out on public exhibition at the moment, you may recall we added an extra component into that, which is sponsorship, multi-year sponsorship from council. So that's one aspect of being able to give some certainty to those larger scale events. The other one is being able to identify a list of parcels or locations where we know are really suitable for large number, sort of large-scale events.
Could you give us a few
and be able
examples
to
of that?
provide multi-year development applications, multi-year traffic management plans, a suite of documents that people can actually just pick up and put into place and not have to continuously apply year on year.
Do you have some examples of that? Because I think that's quite a good message for the community in terms of, a lot of people have great ideas. I was speaking to a group in Avoca Beach last night, for example, a community group who's saying they want to run like a fishing event, and they're sort of looking at locations, where could we do it? And I think if we're saying to them, look, we can make this super easy for you, it's going to be a lot easier for these events to get off the ground. So there are a couple of locations you have in mind?
Through the chair, off the top of my head, so if you look at somewhere like Memorial Park at the entrance, you look at Polytech Stadium, you look at the two race courses, for example, you look at the recreation precinct down at the peninsula, you've got, there are locations up in the hinterland that, are sort of ripe for events. The intent is that staff will work with the community and with producers and with local community groups or organisations to be able to identify those parcels of land.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I do.
Can you let Councillor Wade?
Councillor McQuaid, can you hear us?
Yeah, you just come back. You cut out for a bit there.
Do you have any questions you'd like to ask on the?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, through the chair, I just want to reiterate what others have said, and big congratulations to Director Smith and Sue and staff for the hard work with these documents. I found them forward-thinking, they're exciting, and they flow, and I'd just like to pass on my appreciation for their hard work. It's a big chance for us at this time to shape the Central Coast and its future moving into 2030, so well done.
Mine's working now, so yours might be.
John, can you put yours off? John, put yours off. There we go. We're back. Okay, I'll put that motion, but before that, I just want to make a comment that it was very, very pleasing to see that all of these documents were done by the staff without having to bring consultants into the place at extra cost. So well done to Director Smith and all of the staff. And it might be a precedent that is set that we could do all of our internal documents like this, but no consultants were paid. So I'll put the motion as it is. Sorry.
Okay.
You're right. I'll put the motion as it is, moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Mayor Moreland. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, now we'll move on to item 2.2, the Place Brand Strategy. Invite Melanie Smith, Director of Community and Recreation Services, to speak to the report.
Thank you, through the chair. I will hand over to Bianca Gilmore, who's going to take us through a short presentation.
Testing, yes, it works. Okay, thank you. Good evening, councillors and staff. I'd like to take you through the strategic direction for developing a new place brand strategy and implementation plan for the Central Coast, We seek Council's endorsement to proceed with developing the strategy and to proceed with engagement activities in November. The Place Brand strategy and plan is informed by the 3 council key strategies that have just been discussed. So the economic development strategy, the destination management plan, and the events strategy. The engagement through these strategies has highlighted the need for a well-defined and cohesive identity for our region. To begin, the definition of a place brand is the collective identity and reputation of a region shaped by its unique attributes, values, and experiences. So as some background, at Central Coast Council, we currently maintain both a council brand focused on engaging residents and a tourism or destination brand focused on attracting visitors for leisure and tourism purposes. Now, since the launch in 2020 of the Central Coast Destination brand and otherwise named Love Central Coast, the brand has contributed to significant growth in the visitor economy. And as you can see on the screen with the numbers, the visitor expenditure has increased from 900 million in 2019 to 1.3 billion in 2025. The tourism brand has supported our tourism industry and launched our region into global success through awards with Green Destination. But right now, we're facing the challenge of connecting with the broader audience beyond tourism, and that includes our business community and potential investors. Our brand speaks mainly to locals and tourists, but we want it to do more. The opportunity is to expand our brand beyond tourism, so it also attracts new businesses, boosts community pride. And our solution is to develop a place brand strategy that tells real stories, aligns with Council's goals, and represents everyone in the region. So at this stage, we're focused on building a strong strategy and not just designing a logo. So progress to date. Firstly, we have conducted internal consultation, so it has commenced. Secondly, research and feedback so far from the strategy development and workshops with the strategy documents that we've discussed this evening has shown that our region's identity is scattered and that people want stronger placemaking and clearer unified storytelling. And further engagement is planned across community, industry and council to ensure the brand reflects local aspirations and strategic objectives. So that leads us to the next steps for our place brand strategy and the implementation plan. So in November, council staff are looking to undertake broader stakeholder engagement through workshops, interviews and surveys. Secondly, by February, a draft plan will be developed, and finally, in March 2026, we'll seek feedback to refine the final strategy ahead of council endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions from anybody?
Can I just ask a question? Just a question because I don't know the answer. So is the brand strategy, is that something the community is involved with, or is that something council develops and then sort of releases, I guess?
Yes, so through the chair, the brand strategy will be developed with the community in mind. So it's working with our key stakeholders, including the business community, industry and community, and of course business leaders.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll move to the recommendation.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify something, Councillor Smith, just to add to the point that Bianca spoke of a moment ago. The brand that we're talking about is the Love Central Coast brand.
Oh, right. Oh.
Not the Central Coast brand.
So not a new brand, it's just how we further enhance that.
Okay, that clarifies everything. So we have the recommendation there. If I've got a mover, Councillor Wright, second by Councillor McGregor. All those in favour? We have unanimous again. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 2.3. So we have a representative from the commercial property area here. That's Brett Hunter. Brett, if you come up to the speakers. Now, one of the reasons I asked Brett to come along is that they have produced a great report on 3 years of sales and leasing on the Central Coast. And what I wanted to understand, and I think everybody should understand, is the commercial property outlook and the impact it does have on the economic development of the Central Coast. So that report has been handed out now. Thank you very much. There was a lot in the report. So over to you, Brett. You're open for questions, I know, but you will go through some of the results and what it means to the economy. Thanks, Brett.
Happy to do that. I know time is short and I want to answer people's questions up front. So if there's anything pressing, could I ask for questions up front about commercial real estate on the Central Coast, and I'll make sure I answer those as we go through.
If you could, maybe a definition for everyone. I think if we're talking about offices or retail,
great,
or into the industrial areas where there's large environmental or employment lands.
Industrial, retail and office, and inside industrial. Can you hear me? Inside industrial, we've got factories and supply chain warehouses. So think anything that produces something. Entire retail, under that category you've got hotels, strip malls, restaurants and healthcare. And then under at office, we usually have A, B and C class offices across the coast in Sydney or in any CBD, which are usually differentiated by various characteristics and also age. So commercial real estate incorporates all three of these in terms of lease and sale, and certainly the Central Coast has all three in all classes. If we have a look at industrial over the last couple of years, COVID really challenged the industrial sector. There was a lot of online spending and a lot of last mile delivery that needed to come from the industrial space, and think supply chains, pick and pack, delivery and that sort of thing. And that's actually where we've seen the largest growth, both on the coast and across Australia, in the industrial space. If you have a look at retail, again, COVID had an immediate and opposite effect on retail, and we've seen that completely. Obviously, the end of the grant holiday changed the way retail behaved, and there's a lot of discretionary spend from the Central Coast ratepayers who are now looking to spend that in retail spaces on the coast. And retail spaces on the coast are highlighted by either amazing location or second grade location, and they're the ones who are probably suffering the most. If you have a look at, say, office space, this is also impacted by COVID. We're in a new environment now where work from home and work from office and a balanced hybrid of that model is changing the way we view the office space as a sector. And if you're not a grade office space on the Central Coast, then you're probably challenged by getting good lessees and good people in there to be using that space. And so one of the recommendations of our report is that B and C grade office spaces need to be regentrified to attract some new businesses that might want to be in there. Well, big differences between residential and commercial, and just summarise these as a landscape. In residential, as an investor, you've got a term of lease of 6 to 12 months. Commercial is usually 1 to 10 years. Option periods in a residential don't exist, but the option periods in commercial are there. GST is collected only on the commercial rents, and obviously fit outs and make goods. There's a lot that is invested in the space by the businesses that rent commercial, but not in residential. The last couple of changes, the bond itself is lodged by the residential bond board in residential, but in commercial, the bond is either passed through to the agent held in a trust account, or even the lessor, or in a retail space to the bond board. The biggest one is that for residential, the outgoings, the strata fees, management fees, insurances are all paid for by the owner, whereas in commercial they're paid for by the lessee as part of an outgoings environment with a net lease. So if you're an investor in either of these, you're looking at a very different style of investment, and we definitely are strong on the Central Coast for both these types. That ranges in a big way from 3 to 18%, depending on the cycle and the nature we're in. At the moment, industrial are showing it 5 to 11%, offices in that low 3 to 6, and retail about the same, depending on where they're located. Business confidence is mixed across different categories at the moment, and so are the occupation rates at the moment. So there are parts of the Central Coast who are in a high vacancy, and you will look in places like, fantastic places like the Entrance Retail, and there is shop after shop after shop in retail that is vacant. And these are owners who are doing it tough, but they are also businesses who have gone out of business and they can't pay their rents anymore. So certainly the Central Coast has high yields, but it also has high vacancies as well. And that's a problem for coastal ratepayers. I can go through trends by asset class, but that's basically a quick definition and a quick driver for them. I've got in the report that you've been given, I've got by asset class the last 3 years of sales, yields, new listings coming to market, and solds as well. So you can see what market is moving really well. And if I jump to the very bottom of this presentation, I can go to 2 graphs, which might prompt us to, I'll just jump to the very bottom here. So I've gone through office, industrial, retail, and medical. This is my outlook for 2025. The Central Coast has a expected strong market for industrial. We are in a space where more and more people are spending money online and requiring delivery of goods and services. And across Australia, we spent $4.5 billion on online retail in the last 12 months. And that requires supply chains to service our customers, which are the population, and we're a great population growth on the Central Coast. If you look at Warnervale, for instance, and have a look at what's going on there for the population growth, we desperately need more industrial in that space to service them. Medical, the cradle to grave opportunities for the Central Coast to service its ratepayers. We are underserviced in all of the medical spheres, and so medical is a great opportunity for growth for both business, for investors, but also for us to service our ratepayers on the coast. Office, unfortunately, is in a downturn, and we are still struggling with a hybrid of work from home and work from office, and what that means for A, B, even C class businesses and how they are going to renovate themselves. And my suggestion is for council to support the regentrification of office spaces that have remained vacant for 6+ months, to encourage businesses to come back and grow. Equally on retail, we are moving away from retail shops on the corner stores, and we're moving towards a service-based offering. So business zones that encourage creative entrepreneurship out of a normal retail space is what I would suggest to help us occupy these fantastic pieces of real estate that are in communities that need gentrification and need, fantastic businesses that can be in there. The last 2 graphs that I've got here are choiced from all of the graphs that you've got in your report, and they are industrial sales and sold. So let me just talk you through these graphs. The orange line going up is the stock on shelf. So that's the opportunity for a purchaser to buy industrial. The jaggedy line that's in blue is the median price by month that has been sold over the last 3 years. The red columns are those contracts that have been exchanged month by month. And the blue is the new properties that have been brought to market month by month. And so what you'll notice quite obviously is that there's been a 3-year increase of stock on shelf available for purchasers to choose. And that has come as a result of developers building things that were already DA approved, and they have become smaller and smaller. So the industrial spaces that you used to be able to choose from might have ranged from 100 to 300 square metres. Now, half the properties that are on the market now are under 100 square metres. And so you get a lot of storage of Winnebagos and jet skis and man caves and smaller businesses that are moving out of the garage and into more commercial based opportunities that might be anything from 35 to 50 to 70 square metres. And these are the real opportunities for small businesses to grow. And so a lot of developers have been building these, and we need more of those. But interestingly, the price of them and the dollars per square metre that people are affording on them are increasing. And you can see that by the blue line that's there. Most interestingly, you can see also that it doesn't matter how much stock is on shelf as the orange line increases. You'll see that the red columns continue to be about the same. So month on month, we are transacting about the same. So demand has not yet been fully satiated for these industrial spaces. And this is the most interesting space, though it's boring and not residential, it's the most interesting space for growth of commerce on the Central Coast. If you have a look at people who can't buy but they want to lease, again, the same graph with the same columns, you'll see equally that there has been an increase in the number of choices for businesses to rent smaller or larger industrial and commercial spaces, but the red columns demonstrate that we still continue to satiate. If the red columns were to die out, you would say we are in an oversupply and under-demand marketplace, but that's not where we are right now. Again, rent and dollars per square metre are increasing in the industrial space. Now, in the reports in front of you, you have a series of graphs that do this same graph for office, medical, retail, across the coast. And I've gone to town and compared that against our neighbour, the Hornsby LGA, so you can see how Northern Sydney are competing as well. And what's most interesting that I learned from all of that is that the Central Coast competes really well with Hornsby. So from my point of view, the more that we can support small businesses, the entrepreneurial spirit of the Central Coast to move into their own economic spaces, be it industrial, retail, office or medical, I think that that is a great way to ensure that we have great employment and great business growth on the coast. I'll end you with one statistic that I believe that I see often on the coast, and that is I think that there is a hidden unemployment on the Central Coast. And by that I mean that there are people who want to live here, and why wouldn't you? They would prefer to work for somebody else, but that opportunity is not there, and so they start their own business. And so you get a lot of small businesses running on the Central Coast who would prefer to work for somebody else, but deserve and have earned our support to help them in their small business. And if we can give them that, they'll do very well, they'll employ other families, and they'll be able to stay on the Central Coast instead of moving to Sydney. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor McQuaid.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Brett, for coming in and giving that presentation. I don't have it in front of me, obviously, so I was wondering if it could get emailed to me at some stage. But my question relates to how do we compare to Newcastle? I know you mentioned Hornsby, but I'm not sure if Newcastle's in the report.
Newcastle's not in the report. It's on my next agenda, and it will be done. I have an office in Newcastle that'll be doing that shortly. How do we compare in terms of yields? We're actually really competitive. And from an investor point of view, the investors, the large developers that I work for, work in Cessnock, Hunter Valley, Newcastle CBD. They're also in Sydney. They compare the Central Coast yields when they can do a development here as highly attractive. There is colloquially a lot of red tape to doing business on the Central Coast. And
during your presentation. This committee's had a number of discussions about Warnervale and employment lands. Can you unpack your brief statement a little bit further about Warnervale and what the future potential will be? Thank you.
I had the privilege of living through the growth of Tuggerah Business Park, and I'm exceptionally excited for the Central Coast to see Warner Business Park go in the same direction. I think that there are thousands of jobs, hundreds of companies that will grow through that opportunity, and my company has sold hundreds of blocks of land to new families moving to the coast in Warnervale and Wingara. And I can't get more excited about everything that goes along Sparks Road. And I firmly believe that the growth of the coast as a populace can lean on the shoulders of what is the opportunities at Warner Business Park and the whole of that area. Having said that, I note that there are a lot of businesses, national businesses that we work for, and I'm trying to encourage them in a build to lease or a build to buy opportunity for them to move their businesses here. And they might be, 30 employees to 300 employees on the coast. And Warner Business Park is a great opportunity for them to see a green field, a blank canvas, get in there and build themselves. I liken Warner Business Park to Tuggerah, but I do believe it's got a 10-year growth cycle. I just wish that we had done it a little bit earlier because there's just so much opportunity there. But please, if you have the opportunity to support the growth there, that is one of our leading opportunities for commercial growth on the coast, and I'm firmly behind it.
Yeah, Brett, I appreciate that response. As a councillor in that area, the feedback is from all the thousands of young families that have moved in, we haven't created one job in Warnervale in almost 2 decades. And that type of development is going to be really important to support the current population up there, but the projected population moving forward.
Disappointed to hear that. Sorry. I'm not disappointed to hear the fact. A huge opportunity for Woolworths and those sorts of large companies to move in there. We started selling land when that was still the town centre was on the plans. I acknowledge that there are difficulties with everything, but I believe if you build it, they will come. And we have the opportunity at the moment to support the businesses that want to be there. I'll give you 2 examples. There's a national trailer manufacturer from Perth that we have attracted in a build to rent scenario who are already going into Warner Business Park, and we've established an agreement for lease, an AFL, for them to move in, and the developer is building them a purpose-built, and they have the opportunity to buy the property at the end of the lease, and they'll be employing 50 people. So that's one opportunity. I'm currently working with 2 other build-to-lease opportunities for businesses that are currently not located on the Central Coast. So Warner Business Park, one of many, has great opportunity for creating new jobs.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Brett. That's very interesting. One thing I would like to just, mention or ask your take on it. You did mention the area around the entrance where most of us are well aware that there are, sites that have got basically nothing happening in them. There is I guess, whether it's true or whether it's some sort of an urban fantasy, that a lot of these places, or at least some of these places along, say, the main road there, and around those sort of areas which are vacant are actually being held onto by whoever owns them, basically waiting until the value of that area rises, and in the meantime is not prepared to actually spend any money on doing any renovations that may be needing to be done to them. In addition to which, we see quite a lot of those zombie development sites around areas like the entrance. Can you give us any, at least your insights on, whether you believe there's some, I guess, not an overarching, but some relevance to that opinion?
There's opportunities for them to go backwards. All of them would prefer a paying tenant, all of them. And we, in the commercial space, balance we get a tenant, they might pay less. The owner says, well, if I take a tenant who pays less, it devalues my asset based on the yield calculation. What does that do for my banks and my borrowing capacity? But one of the things that we can do to support people who own real estate on the Central Coast is to help them with more aggressive zoning opportunities. If nationwide, and in fact last night on the national news, there was commentary on rezoning unused industrial land that's near the CBD. And I thought it was prime opportunity for us to talk about that on the Central Coast as well. There are old zones that are not supporting the current use or the current design for what the client would like. The client is the ratepayer, the people who live here, right? What does the client need in that space? And aggressive rezoning of opportunities so that the developer can see an opportunity to rebuild or to renovate or to encourage a new use on that property. If you think office and retail, both those spaces on the Central Coast need encouragement to be rezoned and reused for something else. Thankfully, I lived through the opportunity where an industrial space, an industrial car park near Observatory Hill in Sydney was turned from a car park that supported IBM into a residential stack of apartments, and they broke some records. And I remember watching it happen at the time, and I thought, how creative, they turned a car park into a residential building. And I think we need to think creatively about some of those things as well. The people who own the land don't want them to be vacant. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you. I've just got a couple of questions, partly because I'm trying to understand some of your terminology. So B and C grade office space, I don't know what that means. Do you mind just mentioning that?
Yeah. I did click through it very briefly.
That's all right, don't need to go back,
okay.
just what it means, yeah.
So A is has a great neighbours, economic, is efficient to run. B is probably about 10 years old, maybe not have it a fit out for a while. The air conditioning might be expensive to run. It may not have solar. It might have shared toilets, for instance, and an older lift. C grade is further down from there, so definitely need a lick of paint, probably an upgrade, and may not have car parking on site. So A, B, and C is just a categorisation of justifying the rates per square metre that office should yield.
Okay, and the other, you talked about regentrification of office spaces. Now, I know what I think that means, but do you want to tell me what it does mean?
Sure. Well,
what you define it as?
So it's not just A, B, and C. There are pluses and minuses in there as well. So you can have B plus, B minus, A plus, and that sort of thing as well. So in a commercial real estate space, we talk a lot about how you can improve your asset, which could be capital works, it could be advertising or marketing, or it could be incentives to get somebody in there, a key tenant that other tenants want to be around and near. Okay. So an example of moving from B to A would definitely include looking at the bathrooms, the lift spaces, the operation of the lift, common areas, the facade, the signage, all of these things would contribute, in addition to which making the space efficient to run. So think solar, rebates and those sorts of things as well.
Okay, and just two more quick
Sure.
questions. I know you talked a lot about industrial land, and that makes sense, you know, especially near the M1 and transport. But you're talking just property value, aren't you, when you talk about the value of industrial? And I guess where I'm going with this, it would seem to me, in my mind, thinking about industrial land, it's sort of big factories and all that kind of stuff, or some factories. And we're seeing automation and AI, you know, become increasingly utilised. So having a lot of industrial provides benefits, but it's not necessarily jobs that you're getting with that industrial. Is that a fair comment, or have I got that completely wrong?
I appreciate the question.
Yeah.
But I would probably come at it from a different angle. And let me give you some examples.
Yeah.
We recently leased a property in Greenpoint in an industrial space to a 3D print farm. He was currently operating out of his house with one employee. Having given the opportunity for him to expand his business, and he exports, his dominant client is white, 40-plus-year-old men in America. So he knows his target market really well, and he 3D prints things from Greenpoint to America. And by putting him into an industrial commercial space in Greenpoint, he now has 4 employees because of the scope. And he runs 24/7. So he is feeding these print farms. Every 6 hours, he's got to put more plastic into the printer. So that's one example of, as you enable businesses to become more, under lowercase p professional, in that they have their own space, they can grow instead of operating from home. Okay. I'd also say that the last mile delivery, pick and pack, is hugely opportunistic for the Central Coast, with a big and growing population, and who wants to spend time in the checkout queues, right? So the opportunity to buy online and have it delivered, every retailer is looking for last mile delivery opportunities. So that's the big end of town. The small end is definitely, as I spoke to you about earlier, the hidden unemployment of people running their own businesses because they want to live on the coast. Yeah. And I think that if we give them spaces, so industrial used to be 300 to 500 square metres, and the factories that you would think about, industrial today is 35 square metres to 100 square metres. Think 2 to 3 car garage, 8 metres high, possibly with a mezzanine, big roller door, very easy to insure, very difficult to damage because it's concrete, and it is really a blank canvas for business entrepreneurial spirit.
Where's the industrial at Greenpoint?
Straight across the road from the Greenpoint Christian School.
Oh, okay. Yep.
It's called The Green.
Yep. And sorry, last question, promise. So just the conversation and the comments about the retail, and I guess, historically we've all seen the impact of big shopping centres on retail strips and smaller retail areas.
Sure.
Where do you see, is there a shifting trend, or is there a changing trend around that you're seeing, or
I've seen
the big conglomerates versus the strip and the town centres? Yeah.
Yes. I've seen corner stores move out and a Pilates studio move in. So we're moving to service-based offerings as opposed to commodity-based purchases, because commodities can be purchased online. Services are what makes me feel better. And so the services, which includes cafes, because that's the cultural conversation that we have. So we're seeing a lot of that move in. So gentrification of retail spaces could be just finding a different service offering for those spaces. Hairdressers and those sorts of things certainly are encouraged, and they're the ones who have the clients that will help them pay the rent as well. Yeah.
Councillor McQuaid.
Thanks, Chair. Just quickly, I know we're short of time. I lost audio before, so I don't know if anyone asked it about Brett, you mentioned the difficulties and the red tape that businesses and entrepreneurs face on the coast. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? My second question was about, do you think there's opportunity on the coast to create a somewhat of a tech hub. Much like you see in Sydney with Tech Central, and in Brisbane, the Precinct, and in Melbourne, the Melbourne Connect.
Get this in. There we go. Okay, great question. Let me answer it in two parts. The red tape and then the tech park. So the red tape I experience by talking to developers who say it's easier to get a DA and a CC elsewhere. And as a result, their invested capital in both land and construction turns to a profit quicker. That's my experience by talking to developers who actively live on the coast, but actively look for developments elsewhere. There is an opportunity for us to reach out to the 10 or the 20 big developers, and I can give you names, to say, we will support you in this process to develop real estate and create jobs on the Central Coast, and I would highly support that. And if anybody wants their names and numbers, I can provide them to you. On the tech park side, I think we should go even further. I feel we are ideally suited for a data centre. Now, let me tell you why. The data centre on the Central Coast would not only employ people, both in its construction and its operation, but there are 4 things a data centre needs. They need access to water, which we have. They need access to NBN. The pipe for the NBN goes right through the Central Coast. They need multiple access points for vehicles to come and go, counter-terrorism. And they need lots of land with lots of solar, which we have the capacity to do. If we were to go as a council to some of the big data centres and say, we've got land, let's work with you, we'd have the opportunity for an Amazon data centre on the Central Coast at Summersby or Warnervale or Mount White or somewhere like that, where we would have the opportunity to both build a data centre and a tech centre around it. Now, one will breed many. There is certainly an opportunity for a tech centre around a data centre, or for a data centre to be built around a tech centre. And I honestly believe we are far enough away from Sydney to be a realistic proposition for the land-based cost, but close enough to Sydney that the milliseconds of data it takes to get there would be fantastic.
Thanks, Brett. Just on that, so what you're saying is if we could develop some sort of economic development plan around that area with the data centres, that would give the Central Coast a big point of difference, to other areas around Australia, and put us on the, up there with, the likes of Newcastle, Sydney, Brisbane.
I agree, and I think we are already a step in front of those other areas that you've mentioned. Newcastle is struggling with land and those sorts of things, so.
Mr. Chair, I still had some questions. I still had questions to ask.
Very quickly, we are running out of time, so if you have one more question.
Sure. I suppose what I'm interested in is the investment side of who's actually investing in the Central Coast, particularly in the institutional space. Is it high net worth individuals? Is it pension funds? What sort of investors are looking to actually build some of these things? Because I've been passionate about data centres for quite some time, and was very happy you raised that, because I was going to ask, and there'd certainly be an appetite for things like that. But just when it comes to particularly industrial property and office, what sort of investors are you seeing wanting to build the projects?
Let me group them into 3. Existing landholders who are mum and dads. They invested early, they've held it for 20 years, and they actually don't know what to do with the property. They are entering into joint venture agreements with builders who are building something on the land that they've held for a long time. There are lots of those opportunities at the moment, and we should support those because these people have held this land for 20 or 30 years and they've paid rates on it, and they deserve a yield on them as well. I don't see large internationals developing on the Central Coast. I don't see large real estate investment funds developing on the Central Coast. What I do see is small to medium-sized companies that might have 50 to 150 employees investing on the Central Coast and building. And I can give you names of those companies, but the companies that are investing to build on the Central Coast live local. They are locals. Yep. They live and breathe the Central Coast.
One final question. Have you had anyone express an interest in a data centre today?
Thank you. Just one very, very quick question by Councillor McQuaid. Quick question, Councillor McQuaid. No, waved it away. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brett. I think we could have gone on for a little longer there. So thanks for your foresight and also your report. Keep in contact. I think there are lots more questions I think can be asked and answered. Thanks again for your time. Okay, we move on. We are running out of time. Item 3.1, Quarterly Regional Economic Indicators. Invite Melanie Smith, Director of Community and Regional Services, Recreational Services, to speak to the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will hand over to Sue Lettingham.
I haven't got Andrew here with me this evening. He's normally does our indicators report and provides an overview. So I was just going to have the report as noted, and if there were any questions from councillors in relation to the report.
Yes, there's a question by Deputy Mayor.
It's the same feedback I provide every quarter. I appreciate all the data, but I'd like to see how it's being used within council. Someone's spending a lot of time putting all this together. It's great that we get a quick look at it, but I'm probably more interested about how we're sharing that data internally and how it's informing our strategies. So we're going through the process at the moment, looking at employment lands. There's some really good data in there. I'd like to see some commentary about how that's influencing some of our decisions within council as well.
I'll take that on notice and make sure that we do that. We have definitely used the data to help assist us to inform the economic development strategy. We've also used it for the destination management plan. We do provide that information to many teams within council to help them, depending on what they're asking us for. But we can definitely take that on notice about how we can improve it even further. We certainly worked a little bit harder on that commentary. But your point in relation to how we're using it internally, we can take that on notice and include it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McGregor? Have you got sound?
Yep. Look, I was just curious, does council employ an economist?
We don't employ an economist. We have on contract a person who interprets the data for us, who is an economist, and they provide that feedback to us and provide the data. So he basically harvests the data and from a number of different databases and sources, presents that back to us through the online dashboard that we have on the website. We use that information then to create the reports and to interpret the data. So we do have a business economic development manager who has an understanding of how to read the data and interpret the data, but I don't have an economist employed.
So the third party person, they put the data together and then they provide their analysis. That then goes to council staff and then they close off the report. Is that the process?
he provides the data to us in a more palatable way to actually read it. He pulls the graphs together for us. He pulls the information from, like I said, from a different sources. He does provide some insights for us, and we have used him in the past to help present some of that information more broadly to the community. We've since I've taken on, we've decided that we might need to look at that in a different way because we find that that information wasn't very helpful. We've had some feedback around that. He can provide some commentary to us, and he does, in terms of any trends that we might not have knowledge about, in terms of the skill level of our team, in terms of being able to interpret that data. We will ask for some advice around that, but that's a cost each time we need to do that. So we don't use it very often.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Got a mover of the recommendation. Thanks, Deputy Mayor Muirland. Moved, seconded by Councillor Wright. All those in favour? Unanimous. Again, thank you very much. Moving on to item 3.2, progressing the Warnervale Business District Precinct. Standing item for us. Invite Luke Nichols, Director of Environment and Planning, to speak to the report. Shannon.
Hello. I obviously am not Director Nichols and nor the author of this report, but I will try to answer questions if you have any.
Studies have been completed and one or two still progressing. When do you see that we'll get a final report and ready for whatever we may want to decide to do with the area?
Yeah, that's right. We're just waiting on some further geotechnical reports and some bulk earthworks to be undertaken to finish those and some design options. And it's my understanding all the information will be completed early next year and a report will be reported to this committee in May.
So my question about that is, when you talk about designs, etc., I would say, is it better for council to go out to expressions of interest to exit the site now, or when we've finished our reports, rather than doing the master plan and then seeing what economic benefit we can get out of it?
I'll have to take that one on notice, but we can address it in our December report.
If you could, just getting to that stage now, where my personal opinion is that we're not developers, but get to the stage where it could be benefit to the council. Councillor Millen?
Mr. Chair, I support that. Sometimes I think we double up on work and we don't leave it to the experts. I think it may be worthwhile exploring that option and doing that exploration earlier more so than later. Expression of interest wouldn't tie council to any course of action, but it would allow us to explore opportunities to pass on that cost to a third party and take that probably to the market.
I suppose one point to note about council's works with economists, when we do the investment strategy, the report will be next week at the Government and Finance Committee. Part of that investment strategy is ongoing economic market updates by a leading investment firm. So that is also something we can draw off. It's quite detailed. I'd encourage everyone to read it in the business paper, which just came out.
All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. I got the meeting closed at 6:19 p.m. We will see you next month. Thank you. had it on, and then somebody else had it on. Then I needed to take it off. But then when I came back, it wasn't. I mean, we're on there now, right? Mine comes up as Executive 5, and some of them comes up as Councillor. So that was what I was saying, yeah. And I went to there, like it's on there now.